Hi, this is Leslie Salazar Carrillo of the I'm Waiting program. We are continuing our conversation with Matt Clinton, hearing that the Fellowship of Christian Athletes is so much more than meeting once a week. Matt is encouraging peer-to-peer mentorship and seeing great results.
I mean, that's the victory, is the life change.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the stories we tell. Those are the stories you tell.
Yeah.
Because that's what God's done in redemption in their life, that for whatever reason, we get to be a part of it. And we're not the one doing it, but we get to be a part of it and play a role. And I think a lot of the kids used to feel, maybe not as much now, you're walking around with a giant bullseye on your back because you're proclaiming to follow Jesus. And then, not everybody. There's a whole lot of people waiting for them to do something wrong. Mm-hmm. So they can just fire right into that bullseye and be like, see, you're just like us. Mm-hmm. And these kids are learning, yep, that's right, I am just like you, but here's why I'm different. And they're learning how to share that. And that's a huge thing where I would have been defeated by that, and I would have not know how to share my faith in that point. And these kids now are, and they are unashamed. They are that Romans 1:16 verse of there. I mean, they are going for it. And it's fun to be a part of it. And I know you get to see it as well when you're on campus. And man, a boldness that I wish I had.
Yeah.
But God hadn't prepared me for it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, but you have it now. You're pouring into it now. With the way certainly this election cycle, and just where we are right now as a nation, and we can sit there and complain about it like you said, or you can draw a circle around yourself and start a revival.
That's right.
Because it's going to start with you. And I know this because sometimes, we're speaking in classrooms or in a 2-day period, we could hit 900 kids.
Right.
And when I first started doing this, I was always like, oh my gosh, I've got to touch all these kids. How am I going to do that?
Yes.
And God reminded me, no, just one.
That's right.
You touch one, because that one is going to touch more, and then out of that one, that's how we do this. And it's not a numbers game.
Right.
It's that reaching into that one kid, seeing, I always look for the troubled kid because that's who I was. You're looking for that kid who knows but doesn't know how to apply it.
Right.
And live for it. And you're reaching into that kid, and that kid's going to find that kid, and that's how we go on. So,
absolutely.
I could sit and look at all the regrets that I have in high school and most of my 20s, but you made a decision, and you're not doing that now, and that's what we need to, I think, pour into these kids. Yeah, you may have done that. You may have been the biggest partier or the biggest drug dealer.
Sure.
Or whatever you slept around, but that's not who you are now.
Right.
And get them past that kind of like, oh man, because that guilt, that'll chew you up and it'll stumble you every single time.
Totally. And there's an aspect of guilt and shame culture in my family, and I didn't even know it. And as I've gotten into my 30s and now become a parent myself, a lot of things have come up that I didn't even know were in there.
Yeah.
And gosh, I'm pretty well educated. I got a lot of good people to help observe my blind spots, and still it was just a discovery process. So I just know at 16, 17, 18, littered with that stuff. So how can we get you past that? Because there's nowhere you'll find that in the Bible.
Yeah.
Nowhere Jesus is going to be shaming anyone. So it's just one of those things that, again, that's personal to me, but I know I'm not the only person that's ever dealt with guilt and shame.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure we have quite a few other, people who want to talk through that. So we try to figure that out too.
I've been doing because school is starting because on the feedback that we get from when we're in the schools, I was doing kind of a series and getting quotes and how people perceive you does not define you, or how they think they do, and really trying to encourage them as this new school year is starting, okay, whatever choices you made last year, that doesn't define who you choose to be this year. That's the great thing, is you can always reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
Part of that is getting older, and you just, you change, but you're not defined by what people think you are or what the past choices.
Yes.
And
I see that with, a lot of the young men that I've had come through the program that are now getting into college, done with college now, because we've, had a long enough cycle. And we're talking to them about marriage and mentoring them through some of that, and trying to explain. And again, they know the right answers, but the practicalities of why do I need to do this, or why do I need to wait, and especially with waiting for sex, because man, Satan is good. You get right in there and be like, well, you're going to anyway at some point, so why not? And I recognize the voice of I'm 9 years into the capacity of being able to do that. So you're like, yeah, but you get to. You hear that conversation. You're like, yes, I was 22. I promise. Like, I know I'm old now, but I was there. And so just to get to talk through that stuff, again, more than what I heard, which is just don't do it until you're married. Just why?
Yeah.
Why is it so critical? And so to get into some of those conversations, and of course that goes right into high school as well, but especially as some of these young men who are really trying to follow what Jesus said, and we all struggle with it and we fail every day. So, but what does that look like? And I think that's something that I'm seeing that more, and it's fun to watch young men who are getting it more, because that will in turn change, I think, how our culture can look. Because so many homes are driven by, I don't know, mom-driven homes. Yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I had a great mom, and but she drove our home as well. Yeah. And so that was one of the things I had to learn what that looked like to lead a family. Yeah. And thankfully, my wife had and has an awesome set of parents where her dad led the family. And she's like, I know I can, but God calls you to lead our family. And what a growth process that I'm still learning how to be better at. But because of my experience and my vulnerability of not doing it well, I just take it right to the boys and go, I wish somebody at 18 told me this is coming. Yeah. Whether you sign up for it or not, this is coming. So what does it look like? And so we're seeing, again, back to the victories, tons of victory in that. Just that young men are ready to accept that challenge and to lead.
Matt's mentorship doesn't end at high school. He is walking alongside these guys well into college and beyond. Continue to tune in as we hear about the wisdom that Matt is pouring into a generation.